Hi, everybody. I am Donna Reed, and I am in Tucson, Arizona, and I traveled in Up With People, Cast A, 1976. And I have a guest today that I am sure that probably 20,000 out of at least 25,000, alumni know who she is. So I'm super excited to have Carolyn Lee here today. And unlike a lot of the people that I've interviewed, except knowing to keep my eye on the ball and that she sings some great songs, I don't know a lot about Carolyn. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. So Carolyn, again, so I've worked at a lot of reunions, so I've come in and I've listened to you, and I know a lot of my friends who know you way better than I do. Tell me how you got started in Up With People and where that all occurred.
Okay, well, we're talking about 51 years ago, 1971.
Okay.
And I had just taken my doctoral prelims at the University of Michigan. And I just wanted to teach for a while. I couldn't think about writing my dissertation immediately. So just wanted to teach a while. So I applied at a few schools thinking they were going to welcome me with open arms now that I have most of my degree, but no.
That didn't happen?
No, it didn't. But anyway, all of a sudden, I got in the mail, back in the days when we used to get mail, a friend of mine at the University of Michigan had found a form letter on somebody's desk advertising for a position. This is from the University of Hartford in Connecticut, saying we need somebody with a PhD or close to travel with this group called Up With People and provide coursework on the road.
Wow.
And I thought, oh my Lord, travel, young people, showbiz. It was like
all the stuff.
Everything. Oh, yeah. So I immediately wrote to him, and I didn't hear for a while, but then he finally called. We had a great conversation, and he said, I think you ought to go to Fredericksburg, Maryland, to see a show and to talk with Dr. Martin. So I went to Maryland and saw the show, knocked me out. Was interviewed by Dr. Martin. And really, I don't remember ever wanting anything as much as I wanted this job.
Oh.
And as a result, I don't think I said anything intelligent during the entire interview.
I find that hard to believe.
He saw past all that, and next thing I knew, we were in Belgium.
That is amazing.
It was amazing. Talk about serendipity. I mean, whoa.
And did you, when you said, you didn't know if you wanted anything as much as that, I think sometimes we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, right.
So until it all presented itself, you're like.
Well, my dad had been to New York. I think he was attending a brokers convention or something, and he had done that annually, and they always had big name performers, and Bob Hope and
right.
And this year he went, and the big name performers were Up With People, and everybody went, Up with what? I mean, they couldn't believe this. Well, anyway, he came home with the album and the program and just going on and on about these terrific people. So I knew, I'd listened to their album. I knew who they were. I knew pretty much I couldn't say I knew what I was getting into, but at least I was familiar with other people.
I don't think that most of us knew what we were getting into. I'm not sure. I'm not sure we know what we got into. even in hindsight. So you mentioned Dr. Martin, and there's probably people from 40 on down who have no idea who that is. And I think Christian somebody recently wrote about him. Tell everybody kind of who Dr. Martin was.
Dr. Martin was from England, terribly British. And he was the head of Up With People's education program. He went way back. I mean, he was part of moral rearmament and that whole business. So anyway, his wife, Enid, traveled with him, and I traveled with him for at least 2 years, maybe 2 years. Dr. Martin was the most authentic intellectual I've known a lot of pseudo intellectuals, and I know a lot of partial, but he was the real thing.
Wow.
And very humble and fun. And I never quite understood how or why he and I became such great buddies, but we did. I think he offered me that's intellectual stimulus and support and everything. And I offered him, I was doing interpersonal communication, and he was a little put off by that. But I think gradually he sort of got into that whole thing, and I just adored him. I just adored him.
He was certainly well loved. So 71. So a couple of these people that I've already interviewed, like Zoe Carroll and Ron Beckett, I think those guys were early 70s. Were they?
I traveled with Ron,
Yeah. And so first of all, how long then did you do this? How long did you do the education on the road?
I traveled for 3 years.
Okay.
I thought the first year that I had found my life's work and I wanted to do it forever. But by the end of the third year, I was practically on my hands and knees. I get me out of here. I mean, I loved it. I loved the whole thing, but it was just so much. So I went on campus at the University of Arizona and taught for a year. Then I went back to Michigan to finish my degree. Then I taught at the University of Texas for 4 years. And the summer after my 4th year, that's kind of a long story I won't get into, but anyway, I had an opportunity to go back to Up With People, this time as educational consultant.
Okay.
I didn't travel all the time. I actually had a place to live, which was nice, in Tucson. But I went out to visit each cast every semester, and there were 5 casts at the time. So it was a lot of fun.
When I traveled in 76, Carolyn, I think that Virginia Trevitt, was she
still there?
Well, I remember her,
Yeah.
kind of, sort of.
Well, yeah. Well, certainly my first year, Virginia Trevitt taught in the Up With People high school.
High school.
And I taught in the Up With People college. So yeah, we were kind of colleagues.
We had a couple of 17-year-olds with us. So maybe that's,
yeah.
Not 100% sure. So first of all, I just have to tell you that I'm from Northern Ohio and my dad went to Ohio State. But my marching band director went to University of Michigan. So we had to learn to march the way they marched at the university. Yes, we weren't going to be doing that Ohio stuff. So as soon as you say that, my mind flashes back to the Ohio Michigan thing going on. But so I've asked kind of everyone about songs that meant a lot to them through the years. And I have heard many of them, several of them over and over, the songs that stuck through the years, the Roads, the Moonrider, things like that. So if you think back to the early 70s and what was happening in the world then, were there songs in those early shows that sadly might still speak to us today, that meant a lot to you then that you can recall?
There was a song called With Everything Changing, which actually was sung in every show for many years.
Right.
Part of that first year, which I love. There was Touch Somebody's Heart.
I don't know that one. Touch Somebody's Heart.
Frank Fields sang that in the show. There was a song called Way Outside You, which I don't know if it went past that first year, but I loved it. It was sung by 3 very, very talented young ladies. So that was always something to look forward to.
And what was that? Was that about reaching outside yourself to?
Yeah. It was, they repeated that refrain over and over, and you got to go way outside you, way outside you. Basically it was, you cannot separate yourself from others, and in order to live a full life, you need to get out there and interact with people, that sort of thing. But beautiful, lovely melody and by talented people.
Frank is living here in Tucson, I think, right now. And
Yeah, I saw, he posts on Facebook every now
yeah, I
and
was
then.
thinking
In fact, he posted last week and I went, what?
he cut his hair.
Yes, he certainly did. I mean, I remember Frank when he was like a boy.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And I thought, did he do the summer buzz like people do with their little kids?
I don't know what he did. I was
Funny.
glad that his name appeared under his picture because I'm not sure. I
So
would-
you knew who it was.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So as some of the stories that you've told, and I know that you did the keep your eye on the ball. In your experiences traveling around, you've shared a couple of those with us as speakers throughout the years at reunions. Are there any specific countries or places that you will never forget, stories that you will never forget, that you maybe haven't already shared with everybody, that you can still share with everyone, that we're not going to hear something about Carolyn that will be incensed?
Well, actually, as I said, my first European tour was in Belgium. And, Belgium is a country about this big. And
Right.
one would think if one didn't know Up With People, that our itinerary would look kind of like this, but our itinerary looked like this, back and forth, up and down. I think we went to every little town in Belgium. And one thing that I remember, a story that comes back to me a lot, I can't remember where we were, but it was close to the end of the semester. And the kids wanted to have a big banquet. So they came to me to ask for my opinion and get my support and everything. And they said they wanted to have a Mexican fiesta.
In Belgium.
And I said, why would you choose to have a Mexican fiesta in the middle of Belgium? Where are you going to get stuff? Where are you going to find refried beans or whatever? What about decoration? What about this and that? Well, I couldn't talk them out of it. That's what they wanted to do. So, okay, fine. So anyway, I didn't have anything else to do with it, really. I never communicated with them again. And finally, the night came for the banquet, and I started walking toward the the kind of hall where it was going to be held. And I thought, am I hearing mariachi music? And yeah, I sure was. And I walked into this place and I just went, I mean, they had turned that place into, what I don't even know what they call it in Mexico, but anyway, it was gorgeous. There were paper mache flowers and banners and
lanterns and things.
Oh yeah, everything. And on the table there was not only refried beans, we had tortillas and we had enchiladas and we had everything under the sun. And I'm just going, I really think that's the night that I became a believer. That's when I believed that if these kids said they wanted to do it, they could probably do it. I offered them no support, and I attempted to discourage them. And I looked at what they were able to do. I thought, geez, I need to revise my thinking about this whole thing. And honestly, I've thought of that many times. If they could do that, surely I could do this, whatever it is that I'm.
Right. That's a great story. I had not heard that. So, we don't know what the future holds for Up With People, or what the evolution is going to be as we continue into the future, right? And there's been comments and conversation about everyone says the host family experience is super important, and yet having come through COVID, when will, if people open up their homes, to people again? I was thrilled to see the Finnish alumni or the EAM just together in Finland because they were dancing and having a good time together again. And to know that the human interaction piece of life is happening, at some level. do you have thoughts about Up with People and its relevancy in 2022 and as it moves forward compared to the 70s? I kind of feel like I was in this heyday in 76, and maybe
Yeah.
because the bicentennial, I don't know. What are your thoughts on all of it, the future and everything, Carolyn?
I suppose that kind of depends on what Up with People turns itself into or what it decides to be. Um, in my in my estimation, their attempt to be relevant sometimes, for me anyway, made the show less not less meaningful, but less enjoyable, I guess. You know, when they're singing about
Thematic or something
about
like that?
guns and they're singing about violence and they're singing about starvation or whatever, I think, whoa, that isn't really what I expected to hear. I mean, I know it's important, for goodness sake, but I don't think it's the thing that really attracts audiences anymore. I
That's
tell you one,
interesting.
this isn't quite an answer to your question, but it's just something I thought of. When I attended the Up with People 25th anniversary in Denver.
Yeah, me
years
too.
ago.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, silver celebration, sure did.
Yeah, right. And the thing I remember about that was usually at a reunion when they do the big show that involves all the cast, they start with the beginning, the old days, and move toward the future.
Mhm.
But that time, they started with the present and moved toward the past.
Oh, interesting. I don't remember.
And for me, you know, as an elderly, well, I wasn't so elderly then, but the show, as I watch it, the show just got sweeter and truer,
Oh.
and of course, more like the Up with People that I loved at the beginning until finally, at the very end, Linda, what was her name? I don't know, somebody or another. She was kind of the
Kate
star of the early show.
Blackmore?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Linda
Yeah.
Blackmore. She came out and just stood by the piano with a hand mic and sang The Wonder of It All.
Oh.
Honestly, look, I get goosebumps
chills.
thinking about it. And so did everybody in the audience. And you could hear people go, you know, Jim McLennan was sitting behind me and I could tell, you know, he was just in tears.
Oh.
So I don't think the old Up with People show would play anymore. I understand that, but I love sometimes it was pretty and it was meaningful in a very positive way, but without getting into, you know, newspaper articles or anything like that.
Maybe we need that escape from the news.
I do. I certainly do.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it just depends on what direction they decide to
go.
move in. And I'm not sure. I don't know.
I interviewed my son yesterday morning. Trying to get the 30 somethings to interview is there, you know, and I'm trying to remember when I was 30 and working my job and if I had kids and, you know, all those things. And I was trying to get 2 or 3 of them together. I've been trying for a month. It's not happening. And Caleb, my son, said something to me that I've never looked at it this way, because I asked him kind of the same question. And he said that he feels like when he would see the show when I was younger, that it was kind of an everything for all people. And he feels like there's those people who do it for the artistic side and those people who do it for the service side, and those people who are extroverted and those people who are introverted.
Yeah.
And who he then would feel comfortable interviewing or talking to about the program. And I thought that was kind of an interesting look of things, like match up the introvert with the introvert, you know,
right.
to have a conversation that, yes, this is still good for me. So anyway, it was just kind of a different look, and none of us know, you know, what the evolution of this is going to be.
No, I really have no idea where they're going.
No.
The last time I heard anybody actually talk about it, you know, he was very optimistic and the future looks good. And I thought, really,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
know that there have been a couple of grants that have been received and they're from arts areas. So they're, kind of working towards that. But um, I want to make sure that I have time. First of all, Cynthia Cochran, I just talked to her and she said to tell you hello.
Oh,
She was having me change something on a Facebook page that I'm the head of. Yeah. Do I understand you're working on a book?
it's correct. Yeah. How do you
So
know that?
I don't know if she told me that or somebody else, but so I want to make sure that we know what you're working on, Carolyn.
I'd love to tell you what I'm working on. First of all, I wrote 20 chapters of this book 20 years ago. And it was called Keep Your Eye on the Ball and Other Cliches to Live By.
That's great.
And then I don't know what happened. I just got derailed or something. And so anyway, about a year and a half ago, a people friend of mine, not a great friend that I'd spent a lot of time with, but somebody I knew fairly well, Rick Von Feld. You know him?
Okay, I know the name. Yeah.
Well, anyway, he called me out of the blue, and part of our conversation, he said, "Whatever happened to that book you started writing?" And I said, "Well, I think it's in a box out in my garage." And he said, "What?" He said, "Promise me you'll get that thing out, have another look, send me a couple chapters, and let's just, you know." So I found it, I looked at it, I thought, well, some of this is pretty good, some of it not so much. But anyway, I sent him a couple of chapters and he called back and said, "Okay, we're going to do this thing. I'm volunteering to be your manager." That was a year and a half ago. Since then, I have written 20 more chapters. No, that's not right. I wrote 10 more chapters. So there are now 30 chapters in the book.
Okay.
And we've gone through this grueling proofreading, editing process. And finally, I finally got it to the point where I said to him, "Look, this is as good as I know how to make it. That's it." So we're in the process now of either attempting to get somebody else to publish it or to publish it ourselves. I think Rick would like to go in the self-publishing direction simply because we can get it out there faster.
Right.
So now he's creating a website, and he said, I need you to start writing blogs." "Oh, really?" "Yeah, I want you to write a blog a week."
Ooh.
This is kind of a marketing tool. I don't know anything about marketing. So anyway, I started writing blogs about 3 weeks ago or something like that. And that is so fun. I'm loving writing a blog. Is a lot easier than writing a chapter. And it's not like it has to be great literature or anything. It's just, here's what I think about this or that. So anyway, I'm working today actually on my 10th blog. I'm going to stop then. I don't need to get that far ahead of myself. But Rick is in Europe at the moment. But when he gets home, we'll try to get this website up and a couple of the blogs out and see what happens.
So do you have a title for the book? Is it
That's what it's going to be called. Keep your eye on the ball and other cliches to live by. And every chapter, each chapter is a cliche. Like, look before you leap, or actions speak louder than words, or too good to be true. In fact, the chapter called Too Good to Be True is about Up With People. And I'm trying to entertain more than anything else, but I'm hoping that every chapter has a point of some sort. I'm trying to say something that matters and illustrate it with just stories from my own life, the kind of stories I've always told from the front of the room.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if what works from the front of the room also works on paper.
That's a good point. There's an alumni from my cast. Actually, he lives up north and he ended up helping Paul and Steve with a lot of video and audio stuff that I don't understand. But he was a UPS driver for years. And he told stories online that were hysterical.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure.
And he wrote a book, but he didn't sell as much in the book. You know what I mean? Like the book, even though they were similar stories and you kind of got the Paul Harvey, the rest of the story. So yeah, that's an interesting thing to to see.
Well,
Yeah.
I've had several people read some chapters, all people I know, of course, and um, it's interesting. They say to me, "Oh, Carolyn, I can just hear you saying that," and I think, I need to have people read these things who can't hear me say,
Who haven't heard you speak,
oh,
right?
don't know me and can't, add facial expressions and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Rick at the beginning did find, I think there were 13 people he called citizen editors, and we sent them some chapters. Regine was one of those.
Okay.
And just asked them to read the chapters and make a comment or two. That was terribly interesting.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to get some input from people, and it's always interesting to me. I write something or I speak, and I think it has a certain meaning, and then maybe I find out later that the people sitting out there, it had a whole different meaning, or it just landed on them in a different way, or they just saw things from a different perspective. So,
And that's our whole world of texting and email,
yeah,
and whatever we do versus conversation with voices and inflection. And so when people are like, "No, it's fine," I'm like, "No, we really need people." Then we know.
Yeah,
so
right.
Some folks have asked me why I decided to do this, and do you know Sheila Detloff? Sheila Walsh Detloff.
I know her because she's on Facebook and she'll sometimes comment, but
she's also an editor. Yeah. And so she's
Oh.
somebody that I run things by. She and Mona Bowie were the first two people that I started talking about doing this. And I just wanted to do it like live on the IAA website. And then that wasn't allowed. And then I had to have permissions and I had to be careful. I didn't say something I wasn't supposed to say. All the stuff, right? So, the other day somebody said, "So why are you doing this?" And I said, "Well, in another life, I wanted to be a talk show host." But the reality is that we've lived in a world for 2 years of such bad news being shared and misappropriated that I wanted to have some good news. I wanted to have those people that are 65 or 70 maybe hear what happened.
Or 83.
83, hear what a 30-year-old experienced, so that we could share those things that were common for us. All right, my little timer just popped up, which means we have 10 minutes. So country or one or two that you would love to go back to. If you could only go 2 more places ever again, where would you go?
Well, first of all, I have to say, before I joined Up With People, I had been to Europe 5 times.
Oh.
And since then, I've been another, who knows, 10 times.
Yeah.
So I've been to most of the places that I really wanted to visit, Ireland being my favorite. I went to Ireland last September for the 10th time. I think
I saw photos and things online from that.
The only place left on my bucket list that I would love to see, but I'm beginning to doubt now that I'll get there, is New Zealand. When I visited a cast in Italy a few years ago, I stayed in a hotel and had breakfast every morning with the parents of one of the girls in the cast, and they're from New Zealand. And I missed my opportunity because they were very, "Oh, you've got to come and it would be so fun." And, I should have done it, right?
Like bought the ticket.
Yeah. And I didn't. And now, of course, I'm to the point now where there was a time when I would have wanted to go and hike and hike and hike. I can't hike and hike and hike anymore. I still get out there. I still get out on the trails, but, I can't spend all day out there like
Right.
But anyway, I'd love to get there, but in the meantime, I guess I'll just keep going back to Ireland. My niece, who was my driver when we went to Ireland last September, wants to go to Wales. I thought,
that's really close.
Yeah. I mean, I just, drop over there.
I'm going to Scotland for the first time in
oh, are you?
At the end of July, actually 2 days after the reunion in Phoenix, I head to Europe. And it's so funny because there's going to be like another alumni. Grant and Gretchen Axton are going to be over there for a couple months, and all these Up With people that are traveling who didn't get to go anywhere, like it's like they've been itching to go.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So
yes.
I'm watching other people's. So I'm going to do Scotland, and then I'm going to and Spain, and then a few weeks in France.
Oh, my goodness. Good
Yeah.
for
I'm
you.
gonna
That's
be
great.
gone for
I'll tell
about a
you,
month.
like I said, we went in September, had no trouble at all. We had to
That's
show
nice.
our vaccination cards every time we
Yeah.
went into the restaurant. But other than that, there was no.
There was not issues. All right. I know it's been a long time since you traveled to begin, so can you remember a food thing? A food that you ate the first time and you were like, I don't care if I ever eat this again. And maybe you learned to like it, or something that you ate for the first time and you thought, I have to eat this like every week. Is there?
Well, I don't know if you remember, but in the old "Keep Your Eye on the Ball" speech, I talk about having dinner with my host and their huge family in Barcelona.
Yeah.
And my host had asked me before dinner if I liked pulpos. I had no idea what a pulpo was. So my standard response to everything was, oh, see. So I said, oh, yeah, see, I'm very fond of pulpos. So anyway, a pulpo turned out to be a very small octopus. I mean, when she put that on my plate, it was the head and, all the legs off this way and the little suction cups on oh my God. And, that was one of the great crossroads. I thought I can either run screaming from the room saying, we don't eat this in St. Louis or whatever.
Yeah.
Or I can just, do it. And I don't have any recollection of it. I think I went into a little coma or something at the time. But,
yeah.
And it's not like I long for it ever again, but I am glad I didn't run from the room.
I remember walking around Skyline Country Club at a seafood buffet with a host family here, and Boudoir Stroyer was with me, and he was more used to mussels and things in Belgium, and but I'm from Ohio. I'm from a farm. We didn't eat that stuff.
No.
And you feel like this costs a lot of money. People are paying a lot for this stuff.
Yes.
I should have some of this.
Well, I mean, I'm always willing to try, almost anything.
Yeah.
But, I don't want to dine on it regularly.
Yeah. So, all right, we have just like 2 minutes left. So can you bestow some piece of wisdom on us? One of your famous quotes, something that you would just like to say to the masses that are out there, because we don't know whether 20 people or 500 will listen to this. So
yes. Well, I was looking at the list of questions before, and you were asking me what I learned Up With People, and I think what little patience I have, I probably learned in Up With People. And flexibility became my middle name because, when I first taught, I taught in gymnasiums and bowling alleys and restaurants and lobbies and museums and beer halls and and sometimes there's a basketball game going on over there, whatever. So I had to learn somehow to make it work no matter what the setting. And it's like I said with some of those other things, you have an experience like that and you think, well, if I can do that, surely I can do this. So yeah, I think Up With People provides you with a lot of experiences to use then as kind of measuring sticks for other experiences.
I agree. Instead of just say no, it'd be like, just say yes. I can probably.
Yeah, why not?
I can do
just
this.
Say, see.
Yeah, see. We're gonna say, we see, yeah. Whatever language it is. Thank you, Carolyn. I appreciate your time. I enjoyed
Gosh, that went by in a hurry.
Yeah, and my son said, he goes, Mom, I have the free version. We could keep talking. I'm like, no.
That's it.
People have had enough. And I've learned from, people like that are the editors, they prefer the written word. right? So some people are
Oh,
into the
yeah.
visual thing and others
Yeah,
are
yeah.
not.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's
All
okay.
different the
That's
way
all
we
right.
learn. So
Well, I think you're doing a good work here and
thank you.
I appreciate being asked. Thank
I,
you.
I am enjoying it and I will look for your book. I'll watch for that.
Oh,
And
do. Oh,
yeah,
by all means.
yeah, yeah. All right. I'm going to hit the stop
Thanks,
recording
Donna.
button.
Thank you.